Hello everybody, my name is Sam and I'm from the Little Angel Theatre and I'm going to tell you a story today. It's very exciting because this is a story I've written myself and so I'm very excited to be sharing it with you. It's got a beginning, a middle and we'll get to the issue of the ending a bit later in the video. Let's get started, shall we? This story is called The Adventures of Oop and Im. Once upon a time, there was a little boy called Oop. Oop came from a very strict family. His mother and father were so very important, and so Oop was expected to act so very importantly as well. He stuck his nose up, rarely smiled, and pushed his chest out like his pet rooster. It was only when he was alone in his room that he could secretly behave not so importantly. He made stupid faces in the mirror, trained in the art of balancing and jumping, and blew bubbles in his milk. One day, an equally important family from the other side of the hills visited Oop and his important parents. They had a very important daughter. All day, Oop did his best important person acting alongside the important daughter of the important couple from the other side of the hills. Secretly though, he couldn't wait to get back to his bedroom and practice touching his nose with his tongue. Evening time came and Oop was given the very important job of giving the important daughter of the important couple from the other side of the hills her glass of milk. Before handing it over, Oop made a decision. Surely this important daughter of the important couple from the other side of the hills enjoyed behaving not so importantly sometimes too. He showed her his latest bubble-blowing technique that involved 3 fingers, closed eyelids and a nostril. She wasn't impressed. She screamed. She screamed her important person scream so loud that all the important adults from miles around heard it. Oop was in trouble. As punishment, Oop was locked in the tower of his important parents' important home. Here, he was to learn his lesson. Oop found it very hard to learn his lesson. The tower inspired not so important behaviour. All around the walls were ornate mirrors, perfect for stupid face training. There were piles of pillows and blankets, spot on for cushioning his falls from balancing and jumping. And the bamboo plants decorating every corner helped create the best bubble-blowing devices that Oop had ever invented. He did miss downstairs though. The food was better in the important halls and he hadn't seen his pet rooster in ages. He tried hard to look important whenever the adults came to check on him so that they would allow him to return, but they always seemed to choose moments when he was on the cusp of an extraordinary discovery. Like the time when he realised it was almost possible to roll his lower lip underneath his chin, or the time that he got his head stuck between a pillow and his own elbow, or especially the time when he had milk pouring out of 2 bamboo shoots that he had stuck into his ears. Not only was he not allowed back downstairs to join the important people, but over time, his important parents started to remove items from Oop's tower, one by one. The mirrors, gone. Pillows, also gone. The bamboo, yep, gone. Until all that Oop was left with was the floor beneath him, the walls around him, and the ceilings above him. Oop felt sad. One day, Oop heard a tap, a rat-a-tat-tat. It sounded like it was coming from his tiny window, but that was impossible. Oop was as high as the clouds in the tower. Who could possibly be knocking to come in? He ventured over and peered out into the fresh air. All he could see was the puffiness of the white clouds, like he'd stuck his head into a ball of cotton wool. Boo! Oop fell back in surprise. The head of a girl had appeared upside down in the frame of the window, her black curly hair bouncing up and down like a slinky. I've heard you need rescuing, so I thought I'd waste no time. The little girl rolled into the tower and dumped an elaborate rucksack from her back onto the floor and began rummaging through its contents. You've been here a while. You must be thirsty. Here, have this milk. The little curly-haired girl passed Oop a flask that until now he could only ever have dreamt of. The mouth curled up into a straw that was modelled on a snake. It swerved this way and that, looping, weaving, twisting and knotting, so that you would never believe the milk would find its way through. But it did, and it was delicious. How are you with balancing and jumping? Balancing and jumping? How was he with balancing and jumping? Oop was the king of balancing and jumping. Oop puffed out his chest. I'm the king of balance. That's what I thought. You're out of practice. Best take these knee guards and action boots. They have suckers and non-slip protection. Onto his feet the shoes did slide. They felt as soft as a lamb's chin and sturdy as a tree's trunk. You're nearly ready. I just need to know whether or not you can do this. The little curly-haired girl twitched an eyebrow upwards until it nearly reached her scalp, blew her left-hand cheek out to its full capacity, rolled her tongue and closed and crossed her eyes. Oop was transfixed. Well, can you or can't you? Oop replicated her expression almost to perfection, except for only being able to cross one eye, something he'd been struggling with for a while. This is our alarm face. If we stumble across danger, we need to be able to communicate with each other. Do you understand? Yes. You can stop doing the face now. Oh, okay. And with that, they were on their way. The little curly-haired girl flung her elaborate rucksack back onto her shoulders and beelined for the small window. She clambered out of it as if she was half human, half spider. Oop tried not to think about the drop below. He would be brave. Taking a deep breath, he closed his eyes and reminded himself that he was the king of balancing and jumping. If he was the king of balancing and jumping, surely this stretched to climbing too. He would be the king of balancing, jumping and climbing, and clambering out of tiny windows at the top of the toppest point of top towers. He counted to 7.5, his lucky number, and then launched himself at the window, taking advantage of the lift-off that his action boots with suckers and non-slip protection provided him with. The wind smacked him hard in the face as he entered the fresh air, so he shielded himself with his arm as he slid out of the window and began to scale the tower face. Despite being scared, Oop couldn't help taking this moment to wonder if windows were called windows because when glass was hit by wind, it hurt, and the glass thought, ow, wind, ow, wind at window, window? He would ponder on this more later when he wasn't in mortal peril. He wobbled this way and that, a little bit forwards and a little bit backwards, in, out, shake it all about. But he didn't fall. He had done well. Oop let his arm fall to his side as he felt the wind subside. It was time to find the little curly-haired girl and ask for his next set of instructions. Well done! Oop nearly jumped out of his action boots with suckers and non-slip protection. The little curly-haired girl was hanging upside down again, and her mouth was positioned at exactly the same height as his ear. It was as if she'd administered the words into a syringe and squeezed them right into his eardrum. It was very loud. Why are you upside down? Oop asked. Because I like it, she said. Are you ready to jump down? Jump? Jump down? Oop didn't have a parachute or a jetpack. Oop didn't have wings or a mattress to cushion his fall. Oop didn't have a plane or an oversized eagle to offer him a safe delivery to the ground. Surely, if he jumped from here, he would break every bone in his body. Just at that moment, Oop felt a tickle on his toe. A tingly, tickly tickle that was making him want to wiggle his feet. It wasn't really the ideal time for wiggling his feet, so instead, Oop decided to find out where the tingly, tickly tickle was coming from. For the first time since being outside, Oop found himself looking down. Oop looked down and saw a goat. Oop looked down and saw a goat nibbling on his action boots with suckers and non-slip protection. He blinked once, blinked twice, shook his head this way and that, and willed his mind to stop playing tricks on him. He opened his eyes and looked down again. There was still a goat, contentedly nibbling away on his action boots with suckers and non-slip protection. He turned to the little curly-haired girl, aghast. "We're not high up. I can nearly reach the grass with my toes." "Good for you. It'll be an easy landing then." But I thought we were miles high up here, right in the clouds." "Oh, the other side of the tower is treacherous, 5 miles from the ground. But if you shifty your way around to this side, Millie's mount rises up to meet us." So I didn't need you to rescue me at all?" "You said you thought the tower was miles high." "I did. So without me, how would you have known the truth?" Oop was stumped. The little curly-haired girl had a point. Yes, the tower had been easy to escape from, but without her knowledge of Millie's mount, Oop could have been sat on the floor beneath him, staring at the walls around him, trapped by the ceiling above him forever and ever. And ever. Oop decided that he was glad that the little curly-haired girl had dropped by. "I'm glad that you dropped by," Oop said. "What's your name?" "No problem. My name is Im. And would you like to feed my goat?" Oop would love to feed Im's goat. After a countdown of 7.5, Oop and Im jumped down from the tower's ledge. Despite the fall being approximately 1,675 times shorter than Oop had expected, it still required an element of precision and landing gravitas. Oop made sure that he polished off his jump with a roly-poly just to show that he was still the king of balancing, jumping and, most recently, climbing. After feeding Im's goat with some pan-fried broccoli that she had conveniently packed into her elaborate rucksack, it was time to go on their way. "It's time to go on our way now," said Im. "Have you ever been to the not-so-important lands before?" Oop made a thinking face. His thinking face involved scrunching up his mouth as small as it would go, sucking in his cheeks and rolling his eyes in large measured circles. "Good thinking face," said Im. "Thanks," replied Oop. Oop thought long and hard about it. He thought as long and hard about it for his eyes to have time to do 14 full circles in their sockets. He couldn't recall one single occasion of setting foot into the not-so-important lands. Quite frankly, he was too important. "Quite frankly, I'm too important." Considered him. "Well, I've heard that you're not so good at being important." This was fair, thought Oop. Oop took a moment to glance out at the not-so-important lands. They didn't look so dissimilar to the important lands to him. Without the big sign sticking out of a yucca shrub that read, "The not-so-important lands," Oop would never have known the difference. There was a pebbly path and a grass verge. There was a wooden fence and a wooden stile. There was a goat with a belly full of pan-fried broccoli already making its ascent over said stile. There was only one way to go. Come on, the not so important lands aren't going to explore themselves, and we've got people to meet, places to climb. But what about my parents? Asked Oop, and my pet rooster. If you're so important, they'll come looking for you, won't they? And I've told your rooster to meet us downstream. How do you know my pet rooster? His family are neighbours of mine. Come on! Oop decided that Im wasn't one for arguing with, and she had just rescued him from the top of the toppest point of his parents' top tower. Well, seeing as you've just rescued me from the top of the toppest point of my parents' top tower, I've decided to come with you. Good, said Im. 7.5, 7, 6.5, 6, 5.5, 4. 4.5, 4, 3.5, 3, 2.5, 2, 1.5, 1, less than 1, and Oop, Im. Im's goat. Im's goat's belly full of broccoli, Im's elaborate rucksack, Oop's astonishment, Oop's courage, and Oop's important DNA were off into the not-so-important lands, with the help of Im's action boots with suckers and non-slip protection. The next moment felt like it happened in slow motion for 2 reasons. Number 1, because it was so scary, and number 2, because Im really was moving in slow motion. On setting off towards the fence, Oop's left foot had already made the journey from floor to air and down to the floor again, but his right foot had only lifted the heel before he was abruptly warned from moving another inch by Im's slow swivel back round towards him with a peculiar look on her face. One of her eyebrows was right at the top of her forehead. Her left-hand cheek was pushed out like a balloon. Her tongue was rolled and her eyes were crossed. Oop just had the chance to say, "What on earth are you?" before he remembered. Alarm face! Right, you can relax now, said Im. Oh, there's no danger after all, said Oop. Oh no, there's danger all right. The author just doesn't know what it is. Who, her? Who, me? She didn't finish writing the story and she's too sheepish to tell the listeners herself, so she's making me do it in character as part of the narrative. She's a sheep? No, just a bad writer. Well, why didn't she finish it? She's suffering from writer's brick. It's a bit like writer's block, but heavier. That sounds very painful. She says it is. Well, what do we do now? Right, well, thank you. That's enough from Oop and Im, I think. They've embarrassed me enough. So, yes, we were hoping that some of you children that have been watching from home will have some ideas of what happens next. You'll be doing me a massive favour. Oop and Im have actually decided to make this into a competition. They will choose an idea for an ending, which is their absolute favourite, and I will then finally finish writing the story with that idea in mind. So you don't have to write the ending, you just have to send me an idea and I will write it for you. And not only that, but we are also going to film the rest of the story for Little Angel's YouTube channel. So you will see your idea in action. We will also, of course, have some goodies and prizes for the runners-up. You can send me your ideas in lots of different ways. You can write them down, you could draw a picture, video them, perform them in any way you like, really. So, the Little Angel Theatre will kindly explain the competition in more detail on their website. Thank you for listening to my story and for potentially finishing my job for me. Okay, thank you.